The following is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
Movies, moving pictures, stories. Probably the greatest thing a movie can do for me is stick in my mind and have something that remains there. And the best type of movies are those that have longevity in my brain. I don't remember most things from a lot of bad movies. However, if I see a really bad movie, I'll be like, oh, but this could have been so much better. Like, for example, The Mummy, I kind of have a lot of issues with, because this movie is set up to be a psychological horror film. However, because there's no clear sense of direction or cause and effect, it just kind of feels like, okay, so spooky stuff happens, then, oh no, the ghost is now even more powerful, but somehow still loses, there's no cause. So I think about bad movies in what were they going for, how could this have been better? Good movies, though, I think about very differently. Like, you know that scene in Pulp Fiction where Quentin Tarantino says the N-word? That's not what I was meant to say. But you know, like in a movie where you're just kind of like left thinking about like, okay, so what was the point? What were the deeper messages you could find here? Like, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. That's a great movie. It has a lot of different like meanings about like the aptitudes that society has towards a very innocent person, how they try to mold them and try to get something out of them through obedience. It talks about like obedience from all these pictures, and it goes through the ideas of belief, hope, family, classic stuff. So when thinking about Intergalactic, I was not very whelmed by the movie. Like, I wasn't like blown away. I'm not saying it's bad. Don't get me wrong. It's a romance situational comedy in New York. I like the art style. I think all the character designs are really good, and I think it's also like really fun to just have a movie which is very open and casual about sexuality. And well, I would have been fine if this didn't have two jacking off scenes, two of them from each gender. Yeah, that was a fun watch with the family. In spite of that, I still think that is very open and good. However, the main thing that I kept thinking about going back to this was, what was the conflict in Intergalactic? There was little spurs, but what was the villain, let's say? The monster, the thing they had to overcome. And I believe that the thing they had to overcome was the path of least resistance. The easy route. The way in which the lack of struggle, if you will. Intergalactic is a movie very much so focused on romance, and romance very often is well known for its hardships that come with it. I think the message of the movie is that if you take the short route, you will be getting screwed over by something or someone, be it yourself or outside circumstances. I think that's partly why throughout the entire film we see this dating app being advertised. However, the people who never even engage with it are the ones who end up succeeding, and those who buy in are the ones who end up boosting millions in a scam. The movie is trying to state very clearly in that situation that taking the easy route doesn't get you what you desire, and it leaves things open, and sometimes hardship's the way to go. Same thing with this main character's ex. The whole time, the reason why the conflict happened between him and his ex is because he didn't cut her off. And because he left things ambiguous or didn't completely separate himself from his ex, it led to issues within his current relationship. His complacency was what caused this. Complacency, i.e. taking the easy route, just trying to keep things be the same while not moving the needle too much. And when you look at every event in the movie, that's kind of what you see. When he's working and making a comic, it's the same thing. His co-worker tells him, hey, maybe edge off to your edge. Maybe the cool things, we like to see those outside, but not here in the comic, you gotta adapt. Well, why it is end. But in opposing that viewpoint, his comic became a huge success. It shows that yes, you could argue that people who assimilated to his environment to act better in the environment will get a slight edge at some points. Doesn't mean that you should give up on who you are just because someone else tells you to. Not taking the easy path. The whole romance starts because he didn't just plug his ears and go la 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 at someone playing loud music. He got up, went and tried to get them to lower the music. Taking the tough part. Look at the other main character. She had to deal with another guy trying to hit on her who she clearly wasn't into. The easy route would have been to just accept his feelings and go on with that relationship, that would have been the quote-unquote simple relationship to follow. However, she followed what she actually desired, and she ended up in the happy relationship that she got. Again, adversity and not taking the easy path. And that's why I believe that the complacency is the main villain of Intergalactic. Now, closing this out, small review. it was a good movie. Not a 10 out of 10 for me for sure, but it's also because it wasn't really my cup of tea, and I was kind of expecting something more with the galactic theme. It was cool to have like the bike scene where like space comes up and like when they smoke weed, but I was kind of like, yeah, that's just kind of like window dressing for a fairly grounded story. So if an animated story about like actual adults living their life in New York City sounds interesting to you, and also you like yeah, I think it'd be a great movie for you. Yeah, I'm not great at movie reviews. Anyways, I'll make a big thing later.